Alright, y'all, so I'm here with another review of Manifest episode, I think it's 4? I think it's episode 4. I believe it's episode 4. Let's get to it. A lot happened this was a really good episode. And then this week, I think in 2 days, because it's a Tuesday when I'm recording. So on Thursday, we got 2 back-to-back episodes coming on. It's going to be a long night for mama, but I'm going to get it together. Let's get into it, okay? So, first of all, let's start off with the fact that we're now 2 months later. I don't know how the hell we jumped 2 months later, but apparently we're 2 months later, okay? So Ben wakes up. Well, Ben has a dream pretty much about the plane exploding again. Okay, when he wakes up, his hand is lighting up like it has before. So he calls the doc and he tells her, he's like, I can. He tells her, he says, like it feels like the tail fin is calling him. So she was like, all right, we got to pretty much get together and figure out what's going on. So then the next morning when he wakes up, he's on the phone talking to Grace or whatever. And like I said, at this point, I think she said it's been 9 weeks. So she's been over at Tariq's house for 9 weeks. This is insanity. Like, this is pure insanity. But anyway, Ben tells her that Vance is sending a car for him. And so she was like, well, are you sure you can trust these people? Like, he was like, look, it's Vance, so I'm going to have to trust them. So the doc ends up meeting with Ben when, because put it like this, when the car comes up or whatever to come and get him, it's Vance's partner. I can't think of the white guy's name, but it's his partner that's driving. So Ben is all asking him all of these questions, like, where are you taking me? Like, and he's not saying anything. So they pull up to this, like, little facility. When Ben gets there, Vance is there, and then Doc is also meets him there as well. So he's like, all right, I'm about to take y'all in here to kind of show y'all what's pretty much been going on. And when Doc like walks away to like go towards the building, Vance pretty much tells Ben like he's pretty much pissed at him because he was like, you shouldn't have did what you did. And he was like, well, I was just trying to help you out. He was like, okay, but I have to answer for a whole lot of different things because of that. I told you I had it, so thanks, but no thanks next time. So yeah. So okay, so remember y'all the last episode that we watched, okay? The people from I think the NSA whatever asked Vance if he wanted to get back on the case, and he said no. And then the one guy was like, well, what if I show you something that I know is going to change your mind? And did I not tell y'all, did I not predict that what he seen was the whole plane? Tell me why. Ben, Doc, and Vance get on that elevator, go downstairs the same way he did, and when they pull up and open the door, what is it? It's the whole fucking plane. It's the whole plane that blew up on the tarmac. I knew it. I fucking knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I fucking knew it. I'm smart. I knew it, y'all. Y'all don't know how hyped I was. I was like knocking shit over in my house. I was so excited because I was fucking right, and I'm never right when it comes to stuff like this. So as y'all know, like when I do the show, I do it in order. So that's why it's going to be a whole lot of bouncing back and forth. All right. So then we go to Michaela, okay? And Michaela is at the house. She's helping Beverly get some food. But of course, Beverly is like having a hard time. She's getting upset and whatnot. She's like pretty much having a whole freak out. So then Zeke comes into the room, into the kitchen. And he gets like this really weird feeling like the camera kind of like shakes over him. And then, but this time we get a little bit more than we have before. When Zeke looks at Beverly, because Beverly was kind of like sitting on the floor kind of scared, he sees himself. And so once he sees himself, then it flashes back and it's Beverly again. He goes to the refrigerator. He gets like a picture of Evie and Michaela together, and it's like, hey, like I'm Michaela's husband, and just kind of like he said, he did pretty much like a reset. And so Michaela is like, look, what's going on here? Like, could you feel her? Something like that. And he said, I seen myself. Like, he literally can feel what she's feeling. So I think that's his new thing. He can, how people be like, oh, put yourself in my shoes? No, he can actually put himself in somebody's shoes and actually feel how they're feeling. So he kind of knows how to help them pretty much. So I was like, boom, Yahtzee. That's what's going on with Zeke. Gotcha, okay? So then we switch over. We got this little subplot line, and I'll talk about it at the very end because it'll tie in at the end. We got this little plot line where Jared is trying to figure out what's going on with Fitz's daughter, but I'll talk about that at the very end. That's the only person I'm not going to really talk about this episode because his thing is kind of quick, so we'll put that at the end, okay? So Then we pretty much go into a scene where there's a calling happening, okay? But it's all of the meth heads that's having to call it. And I know all of their names now, y'all. I know it. It's Jace, Pete, and Corey. Yahtzee, I figured it out. It took me like 4 or 5 episodes, but guess what? I figured it out. So all of them is having this calling, right? And in the calling, they're all running. And then you can see this clock like kind of counting down from five, like four, three, two, one, like all the way down. So you see like each and every one of them kind of like once the calling is over, kind of like just a little bit in shock, like what the fuck is going on, okay? So is that her name, Angelina? I believe it's Angelina. Angelina goes to go and see Pete in jail, and she pretty much tells him, look, like, I just seen you had a calling, because she was there when he had his calling. She was like, look, you need to figure out what's going on. He was like, well, how am I supposed to do it when I'm here in jail? Like, I can't follow a calling if I'm stuck here. She was like, don't worry, we're gonna figure this out. So then go back to the Ben and Doc or whatever, and they're kind of like looking around and seeing everything that's going on. And as he got closer to the tail fin like area, because they actually had the tail fin in like its own separate thing from the rest of the plane, and so as he got closer to like where the tail fin was, his hand starts lighting up again. So at this point he's trying to figure out like, how can I get in there, because I have to pretty much touch it. I gotta touch it. I gotta see what's going on, okay? So we go back to Beverly's house where Michaela and Zeke is, and Angelina pretty much comes to the house, and she like, you know, warns them like, look, I really need y'all to help Pete. He had another call in, and I know his death date is like, I think like a week away or something like that. Like, y'all really have to go talk to them and help him. So Zeke and Michaela goes to go and sit down and talk to Pete or whatever, and they're talking to him. Zeke pretty much is like, the reason Michaela brought Zeke is because she was like, I don't think that Pete's gonna want to talk to me. Like, he might want to talk to you because he kind of seen what happened to you. So when he does see Zeke come in, he's like, you're the guy, like, you're the guy that was there. And so they explained to him pretty much what happened. Like, yes, he saved Kyle, and I pretty much stopped him from his death date. And Zeke pretty much was like, look, all the way up until that moment, I was dying, literally getting frostbite. So I'm gonna assume for you, you probably feel like you're dying. It probably literally feels like there's water in your lungs. And he's like, yes, it does. So they're talking to him about his calling, you know, and trying to get him to piece it together. And he tells them, you know, like, we're all running, and then there's this clock that's counting down. So Michaela's like, is there anywhere that you could have possibly seen that clock before? Like, does that remind you of anything? And he's like, well, it does remind me of the clock that's on the football field, like when we went to high school. And so she was like, well, what about like what happened there? And he pretty much says that him, Jace, and Corey at one point in time were pretty much kicked off of the football team. And so Michaela is like, well, why is that? And then he was like, well, because the coach could, so he kicked us off. And so she's like, okay, well, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go see your coach, because I think that's what it is. We gotta follow that for you. So that's what they do. Also, as a little side note, Olive at this point has decided she wasn't going to prom. And I'm gonna be honest, to be for real, prom is not all what it's cracked up to be. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I went to my prom. The best part about my prom was like getting ready and taking pictures. Prom itself is really not all that fun. At least it wasn't for me. It wasn't woo, like, let me remember this for the rest of my life. Like, I do remember it, but it wasn't like, I've had much more things that are like much more exciting that happened in high school than prom. Just saying. Anyway, so Michaela and Zeke, they go to see the coach, okay? Now, the coach says that their story, like Pete's story, was really tragic because they found one of the football players on a team dead in the locker room. And then come to find out, Pete, I guess, was one of the people who actually sold him the drugs, because that's how he was found dead. It was over of a drug overdose. And allegedly, Pete was the one who gave him I'm sorry, y'all. I need to read this. Pete was allegedly the one that gave the guy who died the drugs or whatever. But he says, I also know that it wasn't really just Pete. I know that it was Jason Corey as well that was selling, but he never like said their names. He just pretty much took the time and he went to juvie for it. And so And so they're like, okay, so Zeke and Michaela are walking off, and they're like, that's crazy, like, that he never even brought that up. Like, you didn't see that in his file. Michaela's like, well, no, if it happened when he was a juvenile, those records are sealed off, which that is true. When your juvenile record, when you becomes an adult, is sealed off, so the cops can't really look at that. And so while they're leaving the field, you see Jace like all the way like in the corner, pretty much looking at them, looking at them on the field or whatever, leaving. So then let's go back to Vance, okay, to where they are. So, like I said, the plane that they see is the plane that blew up on the damn tarmac. Y'all remember when they had first got back and everybody got off, and then all of a sudden something weird with the plane started happening and then just blew the fuck up? That's where the plane is from, okay? Now, this is where it gets a little this is where shit get real, okay? Because I want y'all to pay attention. This is important, okay? So we're talking about the tail fin. Now, he takes them into this room, okay? And he's like, look, I just pretty much want to show y'all this video. So in the video, you see that the tail fin literally it was at the facility. It was actually at the facility. They had it. But it disappeared. Like, not, oh, somebody picked it up. No, it dead ass vanished in like pure air, which number one got me. Then they said that when it came back, that the tail fin had the consistency, okay, of being underwater for 7 years. What the is going on? Okay, so Ben, while he's showing them the video, playback of the tail fin disappearing, because Doc is like, well, maybe somebody altered the footage or something like that. He's like, no, it has not. Ben notices the timestamp at the top and says that that's the same day that Zeke like saved Kyle and his death date stopped as well. So maybe that's what happened. At the same time, Doc is having a flashback of her killing Fitz. We'll touch on that later on. So let's just pause for the cause right there. That right there blew my whole mind. What do you mean stuff is just disappearing, coming back to life, leaving, coming back? That's just like, we ain't even hit the real important stuff. We ain't even hit the real crazy shit that happened in this episode, right? That was part one of what was crazy in this episode. Okay, let's keep on. Okay, so then we go, like I said, we're going to skip over what happened with Jared to the very end. So then later on, a little bit after they see that, Ben is talking to Vance and he tells them, like, well, maybe it's connected to the whole thing with the meth heads, because that they're alive now. And Vance was like, so you're trying to tell me that those 3 months are alive and you didn't tell me? He was like, well, how was I supposed to get in contact with you? How was I supposed to tell you? Which is valid, Ben. It's very much so valid. So then as they're walking to wherever it is that they walk into, Doc runs into Troy. I hope y'all remember Troy. Troy just kind of like, similar to the tail fin, damn near just disappeared out of nowhere. Now, he said that one day, I forgot where he said he was at, but I think he would say he was just minding his business. The next thing he know, he woke up, knocked out somewhere. He ain't know where the hell they was at, where he was. He just know that people was putting him to work. And after a while, they told him where he was, which is at the facility that they're at now, and what he was doing. Pretty much what they got him for is they wanted him to replicate the DNA mutation that Doc had did. So remember when she was like messing around with the DNA and injecting herself and all that other stuff? That's what they pretty much wanted him to do. So he's like, man, some of the stuff that I've learned here, bitch, I could only imagine half the shit you done learned, because I just learned about this damn tail fin and my mind is it's blown, okay? It's whole blown. So then Ben and Vance go into the little area where the tail fin is. Now, like I said, it's kind of like in its own little containment little situation. So he's like, look, I would touch this tail fin right now, but you seen what happened last time when it shot me back a smooth 4 meters. I don't need everybody else around here looking. So then Vance presses some button and it makes like it fogs out the window. So he's like, go ahead. He touches the fin and of course, absolutely nothing happens. It's like every fucking time, every single time we need it to work, it does not work. And it's very frustrating, Tailfin. What are you doing? Why are you making Ben look dumb? Not making Ben look dumb, but why are you playing with us as the viewers? Or why are you playing with Ben emotions? I don't know, okay? So then we go back over to Michaela and Zeke, okay? So they go back to go see Pete or whatever, and they're like, hey, like you forgot to leave out the story, about your football team member, dying, because at this point they're thinking maybe you need to like rectify like his death, like you know what I mean, like maybe you need to like rectify that and come to terms with the fact that you killed him by accident. And so This point, Pete is not saying anything. He's just kind of sitting there. And then Zeke has that feeling again, the little wave come over him. And then where Pete is, he can now see himself sitting. So he says, who are you scared of? Like, who are you terrified of? Like, what's going on that you're so scared? Like, I need you to tell us, because that's pretty much what it was. He ended up saying to Michaela later, like, because she was like, you could feel him. And he said, yeah, like, I felt like a scared little kid. So that's why he asked him. He was like, what's going on? So come to find out, Pete says that the coach is the one who had him dealing, okay? And after what happened to the football player that died, he told him that he didn't want to sell anymore. He was done. He didn't want to do it. And he said the coach beat his ass, okay? Beat his ass. And I don't even know if it was just him or if it was him and Jace and Corey, but pretty much the coach beat their ass. So the coach is a liar. The coach was the one out here having little kids sell drugs for him. Trifling. Trifling. So at this point, Michaela's like, oh, so people were trying to play me? She didn't say that, but that's what I'm saying. She's like, oh, so he tried to play me? Bad. We about to go run up on that ass right now. Okay? Right now. So then we switch over and we see Jace walking, like you see the sign of like the high school or whatever that they went to, like a little sign that's outside of somebody's house. And so clearly this is the coach's house. So you see Jace walking towards it, and then Corey comes out of nowhere and he was like, did you get the feeling that you were supposed to come here too? Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what we should do. And Jace is like, he's going to get what's coming to him. All of that stuff that he pretty much said, all of that stuff that he did to us when he was teenagers, he's about to get his. And Corey is like, I don't think we should be doing that. He's like, you might as well just get the fuck out my way. Just get the fuck out my way. Just get out my way, because it's about to be handled, okay? So we go back over to Ben. Okay, so Ben and Doc is talking, they're with Troy, and he's like, let me go get y'all, y'all phones and all of that stuff like that so that y'all can leave. So they're sitting there talking or whatever, and Ben hand starts glowing again, and he's like, I don't get it. Like, I just was by the telephone and nothing happened. He said, I think that there's something somewhere else that I need to like figure out. So when they're like standing by this door, he was like, I think there's something down there. And of course, Doc is like, leave it alone. Just leave it the hell alone. Don't even touch it. Don't even bother it. He's like, I'm going. So Ben pretty much dips out and goes through this little side door, whatever, that it says that ain't nobody in allowed. And so that's what he do. Okay, we go back to Michaela. Okay, Michaela and her partner, the girl, I can't think of her name, but they end up meeting up in front of the coach's house. Now, I want to pause on something real fast. When they were going into that house, her partner said, well, this doesn't seem like somewhere, like that drugs would be. That's y'all cops' problems right there. See, y'all think that only people in the hood sell drugs, and y'all don't even sit up there and realize that, I don't know, maybe the middle class person could have a whole bunch of drugs in their house, and not even that they can't, they do. Trust me, it's a whole lot of white boys, okay, that live in suburban America that has pills on pills on pills on weed, on drugs, on coke, all up in their house. But because it doesn't fit a certain stereotypical looking like area, you're not gonna sit up there and be like, oh, well, I could tell that they sell drugs. Oh, I could tell that they selling drugs. Of course you're not, because it's the perception and the stereotype that you already have. And that's the problem with cops now. Y'all never think that drugs are sold or can be sold in a suburban area, and that's just like the furthest thing from the fucking truth. It ain't just in the hood that people sell drugs everywhere. You want to know why white people get away with it more than we do? Because y'all don't look at them the way that y'all look at us. Y'all look at that house, look in the area and be like, oh, well, this is a wonderful, quaint area. I can't see anybody selling drugs. No, they're not sitting out there on the corner selling drugs, but they are selling drugs. Just a social commentary point that I want to point out. Anyway, so they get inside the house or whatever, and when they get into the house, Corey is not on the floor, he's on the floor. He's on the floor shot, okay? And you got the coach stand up. He was like, I didn't shoot him. It wasn't me. They both came in here talking about numbers and voices in their head and stuff like that. And so it was like, well, who shot you? And Corey is like, it was Jace. Like, I was trying to get him to stop, and I guess the gun ended up going off or whatever. And so they're like, well, where's Jace at? And he's like, he left. So Corey, while he's on the floor, he was like, no, because at this point, Michaela's like, where are the drugs at? Where are the drugs? He was like, they broke in my house, but y'all trying to treat me like the criminal. That doesn't make any sense to me. And Corey is like, your time is up, okay? Your clock's run out. The time is up, okay? Checking his van. went, checked in the vent, and guess what? Found all of this drug money, found all of this weed money. This is my thing. How can white people, and I don't need to generalize, but I'm just saying, how can so many people love, white people love Breaking Bad and still not understand that suburban white America sells drugs just like people in the hood sell drugs too? It's really not just us. Continue. Let's continue, because I'm pretty sure that's why Walter White wasn't caught for so long, because he's just a teacher, right? Just living in suburban America. There's no way in hell he could be selling. Keep going. Let's keep going, okay? So then we switch back over to where Vance and the doc is, okay? So Vance and the doc is talking, and she pretty much says to him, she's like, look, I think the tail fin is gone, because if I look at the time, it's pretty much the exact same moment that she accidentally killed Fitz. And that's why I think it disappeared. And he was like, I know that you're a scientist, but you can't really like correlate the two. She was like, yes, it does. And he was like, I mean, how does that even connect to the plane at all? And she was like, well, I was on the plane, so I'm always going to be connected to the plane. Even if I don't have Collins anymore, I'm still connected, and I killed her. And the minute I killed her is the same minute that the tail fin disappeared. I don't know, Doc. Like, I think what Vance is, I think it's a combination of things. I don't think it's just the fact that you killed her. I don't think it's just the fact that Zeke death they thought. I think it's a combination of all of that together happening at the same time. I really do. But at the same time, I have no idea. So she could possibly be like partially right. So while they're talking, you just hear all of this commotion or whatever over there by the tail fin. And what happens? What happens at the tail fin? Now the handprint is on the tail fin. Now the handprint is on the tail fin, which actually kind of makes sense, because y'all remember, I don't know if it was the last episode, the episode before, when his hand was gone, but he was at home, and then it switched over to the tail fin, and the tail fin like had the handprint light up. I don't know what the hell is going on over there. Okay, so then we go to Ben, and we see Ben pretty much a security guard catches him like in an area. He's like, you're not supposed to be here. So he calls backup or whatever. So Ben just take off running, trying to follow his spidey senses. Okay, follow his spidey senses. He ends up finding this room, opens the door. There is this woman, and like this, icebox where my heart used to be. Like, she's in like this whole ice box fucking Divergent, Hunger Games type of like cocoon, the 100 type of situation. Like, she's in one of those little cocoons where you got like, I don't even say it's a cocoon, but it's just like her body's pretty much frozen in like this thing of ice or goo, and you got like, wires and stuff going into her. It was a lot. And then he flashes back, and apparently this is one of the women that was on his flight or whatever. So of course he's like, we are like, what the, again, I don't think I say more than any other show than this one. What the is going on? Every single time I watch it, because I don't know what's going on. It blows my mind every single time, okay? So Olive ends up going to prom too. Just wanted to put that in there as a side note. She ends up going to prom. So anyway, so Michaela goes back to the jail, and she pretty much tells Pete, like, we caught the coach, we caught Coach. He's never going to be able to, like, mess anybody over again. He's never going to sell anything else a day in his life. We got him. And so at this point, he was like, Pete tells Michaela, I think I know where you can find Jace, because she tells him, like, Corey got shot. Jace is the one who shot him. And, you literally have, I think at this point they have, like, a day or two left until the death date actually hits. It's not that much time. It's like a couple of days before the death date hits. And she was like, if you want to help, you need to tell me where he is. So when she's getting ready to leave, he ends up saying, I think I know where you can find him. So that's just that on that, right? That's their whole story, because that was the rest. That was them for this episode. So we go back to the facility. Now you got Ben, Vance, Doc, and then the other doctor that they have there that they had met when they originally got there. Now, let me read this because I really have to write it down. Okay, so, not our doc. The other doc says that woman officially, she was killed by a gunshot wound. And he said, yeah, it happened last year because, they seen a news article and everything. And she said, but if somebody was to do an autopsy on her today, it would show that she died in an airplane explosion in the air. I had to pause like every single sentence that this person was saying, like, because I had to process that. Okay, let's process that part. Okay, so she didn't die by a gunshot wound to the head. She did, but she didn't at the same time. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Okay, then she said the tissue that that woman produced was like a strain or something like that that was common in the Caribbean, and it also matches the algae that was found on the tail fin. Okay, so in other words, like our doc said, her body is pretty much reverting back to if it was in the bottom of the damn ocean. And the question we all need to know is, Jesus, why? So this whole thing is so confusing because, okay, on one hand, y'all saying that it blew up in the sky, right? Now it could have been that it blew up in the sky, like in one reality that it blew up in the sky, and then like her body and everything like that fell into the ocean. But I mean, I'm not a physicist or anything. But if the plane blow up, wouldn't that mean that she blew up too, like at the same time? Like, wouldn't that mean that her body like combust too? Maybe not. Maybe the fuck not. It's all very confusing. It's all very confusing to me. So once they have this whole conversation, Ben just pretty much confirms it. He was like, I kept thinking it. He said, but at this point, he said, I'm convinced we was all killed on that plane and we was resurrected. And the doc is like, our doc is like, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, we're here and like I remember being on the plane, pretty much, because remember for them, all it was a whole bunch of turbulence. It was turbulence for a little bit, then it stopped. That to me was the different timelines probably crossing each other at that point, and y'all was just kind of stuck in the middle. But in all reality, in one reality y'all actually died, in another one y'all was cool. So that's why I'm a little confused too on the how did y'all come back to life. Like, was it in like a quick second type of thing? I don't know. It is very confusing to me. I don't get it. Okay, so we end the episode, with Ben. We see everybody. All of us at prom. Angelina went to go see Pete. Beverly and Michaela and Zeke, they're chilling at their house. And then when Ben is downstairs looking at the article of the woman that was in a little ice box where my heart used to be, his hand is no longer glowing because he looks at his hand, it's no longer glowing anymore. Okay. And then, oh, sorry, there was also a point in time, sorry, in the episode, because I didn't talk about it, where Vance pretty much said to Doc, like, I think you should work here. Like, and she was like, well, what about the clinic? He's like, I mean, isn't there more important? This is like more important. Don't you want to figure out why stuff happened? So at the end of the episode, you see him give her like an official, lab coat with her credentials and stuff on it. Now let's go back to Jared for a second. Now Jared throughout this episode has been trying to piece together what the hell happened to Fitz. He got a phone call about, I forgot, something about like a noise complaint or something like that. So then he goes and he finds like the cop that like responded to that call, and she was like, I don't remember what the hell the cop said, but she said something like, oh, I guess there was like a sanitation truck or something like that was over there. Then Jared goes back inside and he like calls the sanitation people up, and come to find out that the sanitation don't even pick up that day. So all of this to say, he even said himself, something about the situation is not adding up. So at the very end of the episode, we see him pretty much at the same spot, close to the spot to where everything happened with Fitz. And at this point, you see him walking around and stuff, and Vance's partner, the white guy, sees him or whatever, because he's pretty much following him. So he sees him. He calls Vance on the phone. He was like, we need to handle this now because he's getting closer and closer to the truth. And Vance is just on the phone because he's in the same room as Doc, and he's just looking at her like, I don't know what the hell we gonna do. This was a good episode, y'all. This episode gave me so many WTF. What do y'all think is going on? Okay. Do y'all think that they was resurrected, or do y'all think that that they just hopped onto an alternate timeline? What do y'all think happened as far as the woman, and her tissues being reverted to the shit that was in the bottom of the ocean? Like, y'all get in the comments and tell me what y'all theories are, because I'm very interested. But I'm out, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.